For many sales professionals, the discovery portion of the sales process is something that they rush through. It's like, if I can get through that, I can go ahead and get the demo. In worst case, if they can see it on the demo, they'll be convinced. And if they're not convinced on that, I can use my magical closing skills to close them. However, we're going to debunk all of that and show you why the discovery is the most important part of your sales process and how to go about doing it effectively. Ooh-wee! You're going to love this one. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, I have a wonderful guest, and it's someone that is like bringing the heat and bringing the fire. You've heard me talk about the discovery portion of the sales process before and how I feel very strongly that it's important. And this is why we're focusing the series on the discovery. My friend today, Jeremy Miner, is going to talk to us about that. Now, Jeremy comes with a whole bunch of information and experience. He, like the way that he teaches and the concepts that he brings about are things that are in line with my values of the way that I like to sell. I feel that it's important that we bring on people like that and people who I feel that are going to bring value to you. So I want you to check him out. He's a keynote. He's a sales trainer. He's a founder, a chairman, author, a podcast host. It's an amazing show as well. You can find that information below. And Jeremy he's a chairman of a company of the 7th level, a global sales training company that has ranked 1,232 on the fastest growing companies in the United States by Inc. magazine and in a list of the top 5,000 companies in 2021. He's been featured in Wall Street Journal as well and brings tons of other resources. And he has this huge community that you can get connected with, some of the sales professionals that you can find on Facebook. We have a link to their group. And with this podcast, they're getting thousands and thousands of downloads per month of community members who are seeking wisdom and insights. And from the conversation we have today, I hope that you get a chance to see that and you connect with them. But building up and being more effective with our discovery. Let's go ahead and dive into the conversation.
So one thing that salespeople have to be very aware of, and I find this, I'm like, oh my, when I hear a salesperson, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you are literally like causing that person to run the other way. Because most salespeople come across way too enthusiastic when they first get on that discovery call or that first sales interaction. It doesn't matter if it's a cold call, if it's in person, if it's on Zoom, inbound lead, outbound lead in a boardroom meeting, it doesn't matter. And they start talking about their solution way too early in the conversation. Now, I know when I say that, when I go to events, a lot of salespeople, especially if they're a little bit older, I find that if they're 20s or 30s, I think they've caught on to this a little bit so far. But some a little bit older than me, they're like, no, I was taught that I have to be excited about what I sell, that, if I'm enthusiastic, that somehow the prospect is magically just going to be excited about what I sell too. And I'm like, really?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Think about the last time a salesperson was really excited when they first started to try to sell you and close you. Like, how did you react? And typically when I say that, they're like, well, and I'm just like, well, if you're acting that way to a enthusiastic person, what do you think your prospects are doing to you? It's like a revelation with some of these people, I swear. But they come across so excited. Now, do I believe that you need to be excited about what you sell? Yes, but you have to keep that to yourself. You have to keep your excitement internal. You have to get rid of what we call commission breath, right? You know what I'm talking about. Now, if you learn how to come across neutral, like non-biased, okay? Like you're not sure if you can even help them. You're not saying that, okay? But you're acting that way. You're more calm, and especially you're more detached. That's the key word, detached. And you ask the right questions at the right time. It triggers the human brain to become curious enough where they actually want to engage with you. Okay, where they actually want to open up to you because you might have something that could be very important to them, okay? So we have to learn how to come across, I would say, detached from the, let's say, expectations of making the sale and instead focus on whether or not we can actually help them, whether or not there's even a sale to be made in the first place, okay?
Yeah.
When we start to think like that, it triggers them to become more open to your questions so they don't shut down emotionally when you ask a question. Now, do I mean when you get on a sales call or a discovery call or a meeting that your goal's not to make a sale or progress it to the next step? Not at all. Your goal is to make a sale or a progression, depending on what you sell on every single sales call you're on, but you have to keep that to yourself. The moment your prospect feels like they are being sold to is the moment that they emotionally start to shut down. You with me? Really what you guys are looking for, just to see if we can actually help. Because there's some firms where there's just not much we can do for them. You know what I mean by that?
Sure.
Yeah. Now, why do I do that? Why do I say to see if we could actually help? Because there's some companies where there's just not much we can do for them. You know what I mean by that? Why would I ever say something like that? Why would I ever admit that maybe I can't help them?
I think the beautiful part about that is that you're giving them, it's a curiosity factor, first off. And I think human psychology, I want to figure out, well, am I one of those? Or
Yes.
can you really help me? Maybe you can't
Yes.
help me. Let me just see. My company is different anyway, so let me just see if this guy really can do it.
It
And
automatically causes the prospect to pull you in like, oh, am I somebody they can't help? Because if you get on the flip side and say, I'm so excited for you to be on this call, like, I know we can help your company. I've been doing a lot of research and I know we can get you guys there. Every salesperson says that. And so I want to make sure everybody understands your prospects trust you less.
Yeah.
When you get on there and just start assuming without even knowing what problems they even have.
Yeah.
Because maybe they don't need you. Now, do they need us? Probably. That's why they booked on the calendar. But I want to not trigger fight or flight mode where the prospect is emotionally going to shut down when I ask him certain questions, and I'm never going to find out what their real problems are. I'm never going to find out the root cause of the problem. I'm never going to help them find out how the problem's affecting them unless they're what? Open. Unless they want to tell me that. So by me being unbiased, by being neutral and saying, you don't say, well, there's a good chance we can't help you. That's completely different. But if I'm neutral, you can't be so positive and negative. You're in the middle. You're not quite sure yet without finding out what? More information of what's going on, okay? And when you start to act like that, your prospect starts to view you much differently than they do any other salesperson. They start to view you as more of the expert, more of the authority or the trusted authority, whereas a salesperson just gets on there and assumes, and so they just kind of put you to the side and commoditize you.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you want to stand out, you got to trigger engagement. Most objections you get right now are actually triggered by something you said or questions you didn't ask that didn't pull out enough emotion, right? Here's what we'll have to understand. When that conversation starts, we have to help them find out what their current situation is. We call that their current state, okay? You might have heard, everybody's heard that. Now, we also have to help them see what their future is going to look like. We call that their objective state, once they have their objectives. Now, what's the missing piece? We have to, as a salesperson, help them see in their mind this gap from where they are compared to where they want to be. How is the gap brought about? Not by us hoping there's a gap in their mind, but by us asking the right questions that build that gap in their mind. Because most of our prospects, when we first talk to them, like Donald, don't even realize they have a problem. Or maybe they know they have a problem, but they don't really understand how bad the problem is. Or maybe they don't understand the consequences of what will happen if they don't do anything about solving the problem. Now, once you learn the right questions, you learn the right tonality and how to deliver that, not only are you able to help your prospects find one problem, but now you're able to help them see that they have 2 problems, or 3 problems, or maybe 4 or 5 problems that they didn't even think they had, okay? So we call that problem finding. We have to become way better at problem finding in our day and age than we are even at problem solving.
Ooh-wee! I told you, boy, Jeremy Miner brought the info. He brought the heat today. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and connect with Jeremy. Check out their Facebook group. It's one that I feel that you can truly benefit from. It's something that I love the idea of taking advantage of Facebook groups because they're places where people can come together and gain insights and learn and grow. And what Jeremy is doing, I feel, could really benefit and help you or anyone that's out there that's in sales and trying to get to the next level. Check it out. Connect with them. Tell him that you heard him on the Sales Evangelist podcast. Also, check out our sponsors because they're giving us amazing offers, and I really want you to check it out. Also, they have I mean, everyone that we bring on as a sponsor, I vet them. And if they're not bringing something of worth, I wouldn't recommend it. So I would highly recommend you go and check out the sponsors and some of the great things that they're offering. I want you to thrive and succeed. If this is your first time listening to one of our podcasts and you found value in it today, I ask you to go ahead and subscribe and leave us a rating and review. It would be greatly appreciated. I want you to know the things you should be saying when you actually connect with your prospect. Nobody wants to fumble the ball. And besides connecting with those prospects, I want you to convert them. I want you to have them become clients and not just prospects anymore. Beyond that, I want you to raise your level of thinking. And I want you to go out each and every single day and do big things. Thanks so much for watching.